Hi there, Peaches here. Welcome to our 5th episode of PeachCast with our guest, Shrapnal Vargr.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Our topic today is about fursuiting in the summer heat. What's your opinions on this topic?
Let me tell you, I'm kind of looking forward to getting out in the summer heat. But at the same time, I'm really worried about it because obviously, when you get out there, it's going to be sweltering hot, and obviously you're in the fursuit, it's going to be even hotter, and it just makes the entire experience 10 times harder, and you really have to be careful, when you're suiting in the heat that you don't dehydrate and stuff like that. So I am really looking forward to it though, but yeah.
I have fursuited in the summer before with I think it was Confuzzled 2018, I think, when we had the heat wave.
Yeah.
And that was like 25 degrees, which somehow I didn't melt because I did fursuit outside in the 25 degrees heat.
Yeah, it was really hot that year. I remember, being at the Hilton and just not wanting to go outside because there was no air conditioning outside and it was just boiling. So I spent most of my convention time in the hotel itself, where it was nice and chilled.
Yeah, and I don't feel bad for people in like the Australia cons, especially because it's like, how do you keep up with that heat without melting?
Yeah, I agree. I imagine over in Aussie cons and places like that, a lot of people are wearing those easy cool vests.
Yeah.
Freezing vests, or even just strapping ice blocks to themselves to keep themselves chilled. 'Cause it's so hot over there. It must be extreme fursuiting over there.
Yeah, I have been thinking of getting one of those vests, but they are quite expensive.
Yeah, they are quite expensive. The way around it, I think, is get an old T-shirt or something and sew some pockets into it and stick some freezer blocks in there.
Yeah.
And just have two sets of freezer blocks, one that you wear and one that you have in the freezer. I think that's a cheap way around it if you don't want to spend the money on getting one of the fancy vests. And I imagine within the next couple of years that somebody will be producing knockoff vests or competitor vests, so we might see a cheaper brand emerge. But yeah, I would like to get one of those easy cool vests because they do look really, really good. And I've heard some really good things about them, but like you said, they are very expensive. So, I suppose they are worth what you pay, but some people don't have that kind of money to spend on them. So,
yeah,
if you can do it cheaper, do it the best way you can.
Normally what I do is have loose clothes under the suit, so stuff like pajamas and that kind of stuff.
Yeah?
Because those don't really stick to your skin, so those do keep you cool after a bit.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I usually wear, it's not Underarmor, but it's the same kind of thing, made by a company called Skin 360. And I find that's great for just like wicking the sweat away from you. But yeah, I'm still dying by the end of a session of suiting in the heat, and I would say that if there was any excuse for poodling, it would be the heat, because having your arms free to sweat freely, so to speak, and not overheat on your core, I think it could be a lifesaver in some cases. I mean, at Confuzzle 2017 or 2018, I think it was, there was one fursuiter who actually collapsed from heat stroke in the dance. So I think people do need to be more careful about overheating when suiting, because it is a danger that fursuiters don't think about sometimes.
Yeah, whereas I do poodle sometimes. Not so much at cons that often, but mostly when I'm suiting at home, because if you overheats by yourself, and that's a problem.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
And with the
cooling is
weather, we get summer in the UK, which most of the summer in the UK is basically raining. But when we
yeah,
do get when we do get hot weather in the UK, it's usually like 20, 25 degrees normally.
yeah.
And
It's
it
definitely
can be pretty hot, especially if you're indoors.
yeah, yeah. If there's no air conditioning indoors, then it can get really hot over here. And of course, because we don't have quite the extremes that America and Australia have, not many buildings over here have air conditioning. Most of them, like your own house and whatnot, it's just all you've got is a window you can open. So it is very easy to overheat in our summer, just because we're not used to it. I think because where I live, we get maybe 3 or 4 days of summer a year, and the rest of it's raining or snow. So, you know, I'm not used to the summer heat like, say, someone who lived on the south coast would be, or someone who lived in Australia. So I think I'd be more susceptible to heat stroke than, an Aussie fur or an American fur. So you do have to be careful to make sure you don't overheat.
Yeah. Whereas I have been looking at fitting air cons in my house, but with how much air cons are in the UK, it's not really worth doing.
Yeah,
Because they
yeah,
are
especially since,
very expensive to keep running when it comes to electric.
yeah, and you're only going to use it for a couple of months a year, and it's going to be back to raining.
Yeah,
So it's not really worth it in this country to fit an aircon.
that's why pretty much in the UK it's like the only two options you have is a fan or open a window, and that's basically it.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
yeah, that is pretty much what you have. Unless you're in like a big fancy convention center, then they have all the bells and whistles. But in your own home or in like a small thermometer at a bar, there's not going to be air conditioning. It's going to be open a window and stick a fan on, and that's it.
Yeah. But yeah, heat can be a problem, but it depends on how you manage it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the things I'd say is, keep yourself hydrated. Make sure you drink plenty before, during, and after suiting. And it really does help if your fursuit has good airflow. Like if you can breathe easily through the mouth, and you get that's one of the advantages of going outside is you can get some wind on you, and it can help chill you down a bit. Because otherwise you might overheat. So yeah, I do recommend though that people do stay hydrated because otherwise there are going to be fursuiters passing out.
Yeah. And the other topic is what's the best Under Armour to wear under your suit?
What is the best Under Armour to wear? Well, I personally wear Skin 360, which is like a knockoff Under Armour brand. I have tried, official Under Armour, and I don't really feel any difference between the two, but my wallet felt a difference because Under Armour is quite expensive, but Skin 360 is pretty cheap. The only thing I'd be careful of is when you're buying the Under Armour, make sure you buy the one called Heat Gear and not Cold Gear. Because although the Cold Gear sounds like it's the one that'll chill you down, it's actually designed for when you're, doing extreme sports in the cold, and it is designed to warm you up. Whereas the Heat Gear is designed to chill you down and wick the sweat away. So make sure you buy the Heat Gear, not the Cold Gear. As for which is best, I can't really comment on which is better. I've not really felt a difference between the official Under Armour and the knockoffs. And for the balaclava, I just wear a generic eBay special, I believe. I think it's Oxford brand. So yeah, can't really comment on what's the best. I think they both work just as well as each other. And those are the two brands I've actually tried. I mean, if you've got any experience with other brands, I would be interested to know because I know there are other companies out there that do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, normally I use t-shirt stuff, but what I've found that's actually really handy to keep your cool in suit is if you have a little mini coolie, which is basically a little portable like aircon fan.
Oh yeah, the other half, Conifer, she's a fursuit maker, and she actually has some of them for some of her suits. And she showed me them. I've never tried one myself, like while suiting, but I've played around with one in a workroom, and them things are really good. Them things I really highly rate, and I can see how they'd be really good when suiting, especially like if you have them, blowing on your neck and your face.
Yeah. One idea I actually thought of before that I haven't seen anyone do yet is have liquid cooling inside the fursuit.
I can see that being very effective, but I
It
can
would
see it
work,
going wrong.
but it could go wrong quite quickly because the problem with water cooling is you have to do it right so it doesn't leak.
Yeah,
Because
and imagine if
it leaks, then your suit's gonna be soaked very much.
Yeah, and if it's just like water, that wouldn't be so bad. But if it's like some funky coolant stuff, then
Yeah.
that could have really bad effects. So yeah, while it sounds cool having a liquid cooling system in your suit, I can see that going quite wrong, and causing issues.
But yeah, the Underarmor I am thinking of trying is I have seen ski type armor, like the stuff that you wear for scuba gear. But
that'd be pretty cool.
I'm not sure how that's gonna work well because the thing about scuba gear is it's designed to keep you dry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at most it's going to just hold the sweat inside of the suit, basically.
Yeah, I'm not sure how well that would work. I think you're right. I think that would just keep you sweaty, which is not ideal. What you want is you want the Underarmor to wick the sweat away from you and bring it out so it can evaporate and cool you down. That's ideally what you want. You don't want it to be holding the sweat onto your body, or forming a layer like what the Underarmor Cool Gear does, because that would it's going to overheat you faster by doing that. You want it to get the sweat away from your body and get the sweat to evaporate so that you can cool down.
Yeah. As I am thinking of sorting some sort of Underarmor, especially with a new suit, but it's getting some that's affordable, as most of the time they're quite expensive.
Yeah, they are quite expensive. I mean, the heat gear, not the heat gear, the 360 skin 360 that I wear. I think I picked it up from like one of those cheapy sports shops. They had the official brand Underarmor, and they had their own brand, and it was half the price. It was half the price of regular Underarmor, so it is a bit more affordable, but it's still somewhere in the region of like 20 quid for the shirt and another 20 quid for the trousers. So it's like, it's still 40 quid for a full set of Underarmor, which not everyone can afford, especially someone who's new to fursuit and who's just shelled out on buying a brand new suit or building a suit. It's an extra 40 quid expense that a lot of people can't afford, but I would recommend it because it'll keep your fursuit from getting sweaty and icky. I mean, you're gonna have to clean your fursuit anyway, but
yeah,
your fursuit doesn't get stained with sweat quite so quickly. So I would recommend getting some sort of Underarmor or something you can wear under your suit to catch all the sweat and stop it from affecting your suit and getting you a smelly suit.
Yeah, and what's interesting is you find stuff like the Underarmor that's the cool down towels you can get, which are not very effective.
Yeah.
And one thing I might do on the next convention is I do have a portable aircon. The only downside with a portable aircon is you have to have somewhere to put the ice packs in the freezer. to basically have ice in the bottom.
Yeah, most conventions these days, the headless lounge, the fursuit lounge, generally has a freezer in that you can keep stuff in. I've seen it a lot at Confuzzle. They definitely have a freezer where I see people putting the pouches for their Easy Cool vests in. So they're, they do provide places where you can put the ice packs if you need to. So if you do get one, you would be able to use it at a convention. Just take a couple of spare ice packs, so that while you're wearing one, you've got one or two cooling down in the freezer.
And the other fan I do have that I might take to cons is a 2000 watt heater fan. It's also a cold air fan.
So that could be very handy for when you get back to your room and you just want to chill out and chill yourself down after a hard day's suiting. So I can see that would be very beneficial. Yeah.
The only downside with that though is it is 2000 watt, so that'll be quite hefty on the hotel's electric.
Oh, that's not something you really have to worry about. I've never been charged for using the electric in the hotel.
Because I know when I go to cons, I tend to have a habit of bringing an extension lead with multiple plugs.
Well, that's only sensible when you got your phone, maybe your partner's phone. In this case, a fan that might need running. It makes sense to bring, an adapter with more plugs just to run all the electronics. If you're bringing a laptop, that's another thing that needs charging. So it makes sense to bring a plug socket.
So I normally bring multiple camera stuff, so can easily be about 6 or so plugs in the hotel just on one unit.
Exactly. So adding a fan to that isn't going to be a major issue, I don't think. And if you can't bring a fan along, well, they got great big fans in the Headless Lounge. Have you been in the Headless Lounge in Confuzzle before with the great big jet fans they effectively have? Those things are great.
It's that would be ideal to have in your house just to keep you cool in the summer.
It'd be great in your house, but I imagine that would put your house electric bill up a bit.
Because they use the industrial big fans on that.
Yeah. They use big fans on some of them. I know the guy who generally provides them, and I know some of them are big military fans that have come off warships, and he's repurposed them to be furry coolers, which I think is pretty awesome.
As I was looking to get some newer fans because the main one that's still going I have is an Amstrad home style. And that's showing its age, because that's a fan from the 1980s.
Oh, bloody hell, yeah. Yeah, that's from when I was born, the 80s,
And is there anything else I want to add on to the topic of Underarmor?
Not really. Only just, it is really handy to have. It does keep your fursuit a bit cleaner, keeps it from getting stinky. And no one wants a stinky fursuiter to hug them, so I do highly recommend fursuiters get some Underarmor just for that aspect alone, and for keeping themselves a bit cooler and helping wicking the sweat away. I don't really have much more to add than that, though.
Yeah, so would you say we're probably all good?
Yeah.
And on that video, thanks for watching this podcast. Please like and subscribe. If you're new, please check out Shrapnal Vargr in the description. This is Peaches signing out.
Cheers, dude. Take care of yourself, alright?
Will do.
Awesome.
No.